Welcome to the Storied Outdoors. My name is Brad Hill, and I'm joined by my pal Brian Gill, and we are very excited today to sit down with bird lover and writer Kevin Burrell, creator of the Ornithology blog and author of the new book, Considering Sparrows. Kevin has spent years paying attention to the ordinary and the winged, leaning into that thin place where natural history meets theology and where careful observation becomes a form of prayer. In this conversation, we want to explore all things birding and how birds have shaped Kevin's imagination, his faith, and his understanding of wonder. So we're thrilled to dive into these stories behind Considering Sparrows, coming out soon as we release this podcast. It will be within days of the release of this podcast. So we're excited to talk about the quiet invitation it offers to notice the world more deeply. Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
Oh, thanks. That's a great introduction. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, man, Kevin, we talked about it a little bit before before we started recording, how the Instagram algorithms got my number because I love theology and I love birding.
So seen.
Yeah, I feel seen. It's a little scary.
Kind of creepy.
So, but your book, and it seems like a lot of the things that you kind of spend your time doing kind of combines those two, and it hit me, and I was like, I want to know more about this book. So I went and I looked for the book, but it wasn't out yet, and so I kind of reached out. I don't know who handles the social media, but they were gracious enough to connect us, and through your publisher, they sent a pre-order book, advanced reader copy, and I was reading it at the beach over Christmas, and man, I just love what you've done with that book. And before we get into the book, I kind of want to talk a little bit about your love of birding and and just kind of how did that come about?
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's funny how when I think back on my childhood and such, like I was not an outdoorsy kid, and people find that funny when I tell them that now. I was a bookish kind of kid, stayed indoors a lot, didn't like bees very much. I mean, just a lot of good excuses to stay inside, and but it was in college I started hanging around with people who just appreciated it at a different level, hiking, camping, things like that. And somewhere in there, birding became a thing. I think I would probably fault one of my professors for that. I was a biology major, and he took us out doing some field ornithology, and certainly was overzealous for birds. I mean, just like dangerous in a car, driving down the road, going someplace and swerving to make sure that he didn't hit a vulture, or stopping because he's trying to identify something in the air.
There's a red-shouldered hawk on that.
That's exactly it. And I'm that guy now. It's scary. My kids are like, keep your eyes on the road. So, but somewhere in there, I think that was it. And probably what hooked me at the end was maybe in my senior year of college, we went to Costa Rica on like a tropical biology study. That's it. And they birders talk about your spark bird. It's like that. It's that bird that like it so got your interest that suddenly you were a birder. You just noticed it at a different level. And if a bird around here in the South won't do that for you, then a toucan will. It took me going to Costa Rica to say I am in on this. And and I think I love truly do love the outdoors. I was a late bloomer. It took me a while to get there, but I want to know something about the outdoors. The Lord's given us this like creation to say, hey, this declares my glory. Like the heavens declare the glory of God. And if that's true, like I don't want to settle for a 10-foot ceiling and a good HVAC system. Like I want to get out and I want to pay attention to not just this is nice, God made this, but is there a lesson? I'm a pastor. I think in terms of analogies all the time. I'm always thinking of sermon illustrations, and this just started around, well, maybe I'm going too far, but to get into the how the blog started, it was around COVID time. That you're shelter in place. I'm sitting at home. There's a whole lot of birds on my porch as I'm doing my studies and quiet time and making my phone calls, and just started being more attentive to that. And so now I started writing down some of those analogies. Hey, this hummingbird reminds me that I need to rest, and this killdeer reminds me that I need to take a hit for my church, and things like that. So, and it's a longer story, but the book kind of came out of that. But I try and blog regularly about birds and the life of faith, and I think we all need to know something. Like it can be anything. It can be fish. It can be mushrooms. It can be, it can be astronomy. But we should just be attentive to some aspect of all this stuff that God's made, because I think it does declare His glory, and it does it in very specific ways. So, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you think about, a lot of times we think about the, places like the Grand Canyon or the mountains, the Rockies, or the Smokies, but yet it's God's glory is also declared in the small things, right. in the little fern that is popping up out of the ground in the late spring. Or, it's just kind of, it's not just the big grandeur things.
That's right. Yeah, and in First Kings it talks about Solomon and his wisdom, and I think we missed this great verse that says that Solomon paid attention to the plants and trees, and it says the plants that grow in the cracks on the wall. Like, I guess for us that'd be like verbena or something. Like he's paying attention to that kind of stuff, and it mentions there too that he bird watched. It says he paid attention to the animals and the birds and the plants and things like that. So some aspect of wisdom is just like you said, it's looking for those little things. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Kevin, where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in upstate New York. Don't hold it against me. So I'm
that's
pretty rabid Bills fan. And if you want to know the secret to true humility, you just become a Buffalo Bills fan, and that'll do it for you.
I was a Bills fan all through the 90s. I mean, I get it.
Were you really? I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I was big Bills fan.
Yeah.
What's really my son's learning that lesson. Kevin, he is enthralled with Josh Allen.
Oh yeah.
And so he's got his Josh Allen jersey. He's 12. Got his Josh Allen jersey, and he was rooting hard. It was not because he was not cheering on.
Yeah.
It was not his fault that the Bills lost, because he was giving it his best.
Good for him. Good for him. If only our emotion could bleed through the screen somehow and change the outcomes, right? So, so I grew up in upstate New York. When I was 15, we moved to North Carolina, the Charlotte area, and I've spent most of the rest of my life in the South. If you count Florida as the South, then I guess all but a little bit of a stint in Vermont, and Georgia, South Carolina, and then about 18 years ago, my wife and I moved. She's a Floridian, but we moved from Orlando back up to Charlotte. So it felt like coming home for me. My family's here, and I certainly I feel like it's the best of everything here. I don't know about how you guys feel where you are, but I love when you can shoot to the mountains or you can shoot to the beach all kind of in a day, and right in the middle of all that.
Yeah,
awesome.
North Carolina is one of those states that's got both.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Alabama does it. It's a little bit different, but we have the mountains and the beach, and so it takes a little bit longer to get from each of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the side of the beach side. I'm down on the Gulf Coast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. You're a little closer to there. Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah.
But I would definitely, if I had to gravitate one way or the other, I would head towards the mountains, and I've got some favorite spots in western North Carolina, and it might have been that short stint in Vermont that really flipped me in the outdoors direction.
It'll do it.
That's where I learned how to fly fish, and you're kind of in. You're in the motherland there. It's just pretty amazing. And,
well, we knew you were our people when you talked about theology and birding, but now you're really our people when you're talking about fly fishing. So you're in.
I can talk a good story, but that doesn't mean I've got a lot of trophy fish to show for it. So, and my family we're a hunting family, so I put my dad and my brother onto your podcast as well because
cool.
I mean, they're my dad's a bow hunter, and my brother is an avid deer hunter, and they've done some other things as well, partridge and turkey and things like that, but mostly
Nice.
deer. And surprisingly, when we tell people we're from New York, people don't think of that as a good deer hunting state, but the upstate is amazing.
Upstate is not much. It's not like the island. Not like, I mean,
No, I don't know if there. Yeah, I don't know if do any animals live out there. I'm not sure, but
I think I've seen a pigeon
A
or
lot
two.
of pigeons. A lot of pigeons.
boy, the upstate's just an entirely different deal. But
Yeah.
so I'm not a hunter, but I think of birding the same way in a lot of ways, right? I mean, I have a friend who is both a hunter and a photographer, and he says in the off season he gets his deer either way. He gets his birds either way, whether it's with a gun or whether it's with his camera. And before we had binoculars, that's how birders birded. They shot them. It's like John James Audubon had to.
Only way to get close to
some
them.
stuff. Yeah, if he wants to paint it, first he's got to have a specimen. And so your main tool, if you were a birder in the 1800s or before, would have been a shotgun. So
How do you do your birding? Do you have binoculars or do you have a camera?
mostly binoculars. That's pretty much me. I just to me, I don't want the distraction of also trying to feel like I got to capture that moment and get a good picture. But that is a liability sometimes, because sometimes you see something that's really rare and nobody's going to believe you saw it if you don't have some kind of evidence. And so
Prove it.
I do have a camera now, and I'm learning, but I would not call myself a photographer. I would call myself a birder that happens to have a camera now.
Yeah, that's fair. I get that.
Yeah. For the blog, I use some friends along the way. I'll tell them, hey, I'm getting ready to do an article about snowy owls. You don't happen to have any snowy owl pics, do you? And I've got 5 or 6 guys that are just phenomenal photographers that I'll kind of fish that out to, and they've been real great to provide some photos along the way. I don't really feel like I can outdo them. I'm just gonna
Just outsource to those guys, huh?
It's wonderful when you've got friends who know what they're doing. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, I felt like that's kind of how I got into birding, was through photography. It's always a subject when you're in the woods. It's made a lot of bad hunting and fishing days really good because I've had my camera.
That's a good way to describe it. That's great. That's great. Yeah.
So, well, let's dive into your book.
Sure. Yeah.
So we've got some questions. We just kind of want to go through and just pick your brain a little bit about it. So when I was reading it, you kind of made the statement that if you're looking for a birding book, this is not it. But if you're looking for a theology book, this is not it. It was somewhere in between. How would you describe your book? And tell us about the term ornithology.
Okay, let's start with that. Ornithology is not my word, but I wish it was. It's such a great word.
That's from Stott?
John Stott, yeah. John Stott, the famed theologian that I don't know, a lot of people don't know that he was just an avid bird watcher. I mean, when he would visit countries on speaking at missions conferences, and then they would take him out back and show him some of their favorite birds in the area.
Well, that's cool. I did not know that.
Cool. He even wrote a book called The Birds, Our Teachers, and it's a really unique book for him because he wrote some chapters similar to what I do. He also took all the photos in it. He has about 150 photos in it that he took. And you could tell some of it is I'm going to make this bird fit this topic because I really want to show you my pictures. So he's got this big spread on penguins and stuff.
Little bird version of eisegesis.
A little bit, but I know he's trying little eisegesis there, right? So I got to get the bird into it. It's really funny. But so for me, awesome. It's funny. It was trying to pitch this to. I thought I would just flop when I was trying to pitch this to like a literary agent or then to a publisher. It's like I don't know how I'm writing my way through the book of Philippians, and I'm using birds, and it's not a science book. It's not really a commentary. I don't really think of it as a devotional book. I don't know what it is. And so thankfully it was weird enough that people were willing to hear my pitch on it, and it turned into something. But it is hard to describe. But I am going through the book of Philippians passage by passage. I'm a pastor. I love preaching through books of the Bible in kind of a sequential format. And I thought, what if I did that? The blog isn't like that. The blog is it's a scattergun effect, right? It's just about a lot of different topics, a lot of different birds. I thought, what if I could take a section of scripture and just work through it, and there's a bird analogy for every bit of it. And it took a while to kind of get that outline together, but that's what the book is. And Philippians is my favorite book. Birds are one of my favorite topics, and it was neat that I was like, there's a possibility that I can do a couple of things that I really love.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it is hard to describe. I hope that people say in the prologue, it's hard to thread the needle. So here's my promise. I'm not going to get too birdy for too long without bringing it back to the Bible, and I'm not going to get too preachy for too long without bringing it back to birds. And so hopefully I'll keep everybody happy if you picked it up because you wanted a good devotional, or if you picked it up because you were curious about birds. So,
Kevin, what was that sort of first, I guess, metaphor, where you began to connect the dots and begin like looking at Philippians through that sort of lens of your binoculars to see this metaphor in birds for this book, and you begin to really bring it together?
Yeah. Well, since about 2000, I've been doing the blog, and so ideas surface along the way, and they're always connected to some concept in Scripture, some verse. A couple of them connected to Philippians, but not direct. I wouldn't say that there was a theme to the blog, but along the way, I realized, there are. First of all, if I'm going to spend some time and camp out, if I could write about anything I want to write about, Philippians is a good one for the kind of theme I'm going for. The tone is joy. It's
happiest book Paul wrote, right?
It is so good, and it's just all about joy, which when you think about just birdsong in the morning and all that. So I felt like if I connected this thing to like Ecclesiastes or something, it'd be a very dark, vulture-y kind of book, So, but there's a lot of possibility, and plus, as I mentioned, Philippians is just a love of mine. I back in my 20s, I tried to commit the whole thing to memory, so it's all in my head. Just I'm always thinking. Those are the quicker, those places well, you go there more quickly. And I realized that of the 16 chapters that I wanted to divide it into, I already had 4 or 5 that were Philippians related. So that felt like I had a little bit of traction maybe to go with.
Yeah, you had a good start there.
About the tree creeper as the essence of humility in chapter 2, and a couple of other places like that. So when you feel like there's maybe some momentum here, let me write it out a little bit further and see if. That doesn't mean there weren't a couple of chapters that were just hard to. I was asking friends like just for divine intervention. Like I cannot figure out how to get. One of them was work out your salvation with fear and trembling, for it's God who works in you, both to will and to act according to His good purpose. And I was like, I love that verse, but I got nothing. Birdwise, I've got nothing on that. That took months to figure out, and everybody was like pitching different ideas to me about all kinds of different things. So you'll have to read the book to see where I landed on that. But
awesome. When I think about that, there was one of my favorite analogies. I love Eugene Peterson, and Eugene's writings have profoundly affected me as a pastor. But I saw an interview with him. He was sitting on his, he lived on his last days up on the Flathead in Montana.
Yeah.
And he said he was watching mine and Brian's favorite birds, the kingfisher. And that's always our friend that greets us when we're on a float, we're fly fishing or we're on a lake somewhere. You can always hear the cackle of a kingfisher, and it's like it welcomes us to the water.
Wow.
But Peterson talked about the kingfisher. He watched this kingfisher dive into the water, and I can't remember the number, but it was a bunch of times, like 50 something times.
37. I know the one you're talking about. I read it. It's so great.
And he's like, man. He missed all those times, but then, he finally gets his quarry.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is the kingfisher. It's the king of fishing, and he missed that many times, and it was just this beautiful analogy of continuing to continue doing, what you're made to do, even though you fail,
What an encouragement, right?
Yeah.
So the reason I remember 37 is, Brian, I'm so glad you brought that one up. There's a post on my site about the kingfisher. That's also one of my favorite birds. And I read that bit from Peterson, and it just reminded me of Jesus telling us to continue to persist in prayer.
Yeah.
Like it's that widow that just keeps knocking because she
Right.
knows if I annoy this judge to death. Like God is giving us permission to like be obnoxious and audacious in prayer, which is just so funny. I just like to haggle, and you see that in the Old Testament too, with the way that some of these, the way that maybe Abraham or Moses would approach God, and what a cool thing that I think that we know who our Fisher King is, right? But I think what a cool thing that our Fisher King invites us to just keep pounding on His door.
Yes.
Persistence in prayer. So I love that image. It's so good, so good.
So the name of the book is Considering Sparrows.
Yeah.
Sparrows, they're something that people probably have everybody has probably seen a sparrow. I mean, it feels like they're everywhere. They're very common, but sometimes they also go overlooked. You don't really think a whole lot about them in that way. You what is something that you've learned from giving attention to what seems common, and how is that kind of translated beyond ornithology into your understanding of maybe people and faith?
Yeah, good. Thanks for asking. Chapter, I think it's 13, is where I kind of tackle this one and talk about the house sparrow, which is so common that even birders ignore it. Like the house sparrow is, if you're hanging out at Jimmy John's and there's that bird trying to mooch your bread, that's probably a house sparrow.
Yeah.
And they're the bird that you see when you're not even bird watching. They're just everywhere. They're very urban, almost like a pigeon. And I can't help but imagine that when Jesus was given that encouragement at the Sermon on the Mount, chances are really good that the bird that he was referring to when he said, "Consider the birds," and I picture him gesturing to a bird he's talking about things that are right in front of them. And so I picture him saying, "Consider that bird." Chances are good it was a house sparrow, and chances are good if it was a house sparrow that it was probably a bird that nobody up to that point had even noticed, except maybe as something trying to steal their fish and bread. I don't know, but I call it the vermin on the mount in the book. I don't think they would have noticed it. And now that's where Jesus starts. He said, "Look at that. Like most of you didn't even notice that was there. Like you've ignored that. And my Father knows exactly what's going on with that bird, and even he knows the falling of a sparrow. Like when that bird dies, he knows the exact spot of ground it's going to land on. Like he has that kind of intimate detail for something that is so overlooked. And now how much more does he care for you? And so that's meant to be like this antidote for anxiety, to say, hey, if you get anxious, if you worry, consider the sparrow. Like the Lord is involved at that level of detail in your life, in the things that we overlook, which I think is also why he mentions that the hairs on our head are numbered and things like that, right? I mean, just the minutia, the amazing detail that God isn't immediately involved with the world. He didn't just make it and wind it up and let it run, kind of a deistic understanding of God, but God is immediately involved with his creation and at that fine level. And so that fit well with, hey, be anxious for nothing. In everything with thanksgiving, present your request to God.
Yes.
God that passes all understanding will guard your hearts. Like, consider the sparrow. That all fits.
Man.
Yeah.
That's good. Kevin, you alluded to it earlier, like the difficulty of, unpacking ornithology.
Yeah.
And in the intro, we talked about this, the thin place between natural history and theology. Mm-hmm. Can we unpack that a little bit more, like, and how you went about that in your book?
Sure. Yeah. Well, you can go one of two directions with this, and this is not in the book. I'm just talking out loud right now.
Yeah.
I think you can go in the place where we tend to minimize God's creation because we understand the primacy of the Word. We understand that God's Word, capital W, that's eternal life, and so I think we maybe we get this theological mindset that the creation is somehow lesser. So we extol that. The other end is we could extol creation to the expense of God's word, right? And a lot of people do that. I mean, I felt like as I was writing this book, I had to say, hey guys, I'm coming at this as a pastor, not a tree hugger. I'm not pantheist here. Like God is distinct from his creation. That doesn't mean he's not revealed in his creation. And it's important for us to pay attention to that because our God is a creative God. He wants us to get something from this. So good. I think maybe both of those ideas come. This morning in my quiet time, I was reading Psalm 19, and that's just perfect for it because it starts with like the heavens declare the glory of God, the skies. It's all about nature, right? It talks about the sun running its course like a bridegroom just racing from east to west, and then all of a sudden, but not all of a sudden it goes, the law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul, or whatever. It goes into this long like parallel poetry about how great God's word is, about how great the law is. and you think, wow, this feels like two psalms, not one psalm, but it is one psalm, right? Like when we study what he has made, it should lead us to a deeper appreciation for who he is and how he's revealed himself. One without the other is missing something that I think is essential in what he gave us. So
That's so helpful. I think Bryan and I we feel that tension often in what we're trying to accomplish on this podcast of not, we want to go all the way like worshiping creation, but we don't want to like forsake, what we see in creation for only, only theology, right? Like it is right in the middle, and there is a thin space there where one makes the other come really alive, or makes me really understand. Stories like the kingfisher helps me go, I see what you mean by that kind of persistence. And Bryan has written about that idea of persistence, of continuing to persist. As you said in prayer, like to continuing to knock on the door. Like, would that have landed if it were just words, or had I really seen the kingfisher dive in the water over and over and over? And so that, metaphor, going back to Peterson, he talked about how metaphors are so active and they invite us in to take part in and to understand. And so, man, that's the way I see creation, and Scripture is wrought with those kinds of analogies and parallels. And, man, it's just incredible.
I agree. Yeah. It's a tricky space. Not everybody's going to understand what we're trying to do in that, but I think that creation's the window through which it's the lens through which we see and understand God better, right? Or it is a lens through which we can do that. And so it's not the signpost isn't the same as the destination, but the signpost points you there, right? It gets you where you need to go. Where we need to go is the second half of that psalm. But what gets us there is, like day after day, the creation pours forth speech, and night after night it reveals knowledge. And how, especially in 2026 in the Western, just our Western culture. The outdoors is the thing that I happen to drive through on my way from my garage to work and back, and how much are we missing, right? I think about that I feel like people who don't notice the birds in their backyards. Like, how can you not know that? Like, you're missing out. There's such a beauty there. But I'm missing out on something that other people, like people would say the same thing about gardening or trees or like there's aspects of his creation I'm missing out on too. And I don't know, we'll have an eternity to plow into the new heavens and the new earth and an Eden kind of goodness and really be able to savor what he's made.
Man, that's really good. I think that's what I liked about your book was, I'm not going to look at these birds and their patterns and their behaviors the same, because of kind of the ways that you've kind of drawn them into this story of what Paul was doing in the book of Philippians. And so I really appreciated that. I think that it helps me understand a little bit better. And I think I think that was all in God's plan, to have the Bible written in a agrarian society, to have,
that's right.
These things are pretty easy to see. He's had it, it's right there in front of everybody. There's not a lot of, I'm sure there are, but I'm not smart enough to know all of the illustrations that can be pulled from the technology age, but I'm a pretty simple man to be able to see the agricultural references right there.
That's right. And that means that it can transcend culture too. More or less, right? It can. Like maybe not every culture understands, for instance, what a sheep is, but that's okay. When we're working on our translation, we can make sure that we've got something that we're swapping out for that so people understand what we're talking about. But it would be harder if I was written for a technological society, because not every culture would have, or not every individual, would have access to that. But
technology changes.
Yeah, right. It's constantly. So God gives us illustrations that we can. He speaks to us in metaphor and just.
They're timeless.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking back to like a fellow birder and other guests that we've had early in the life of this podcast, James D. Whitmer. And James loves birding and gardening, and
Writing.
he
He's a
said
great writer.
he's a great writer and editor. But he talked about this line that stuck with me for, I guess, what, 6 years, 5 years now, where he said that when we go into the outdoors, like, it situates us and helps us remember that we're important, but we're not the point.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
and I think when we do look around and we see, we see birds, or we see, whatever wildlife, I think we remember, oh yeah, like I'm a part of this system.
Yeah,
I'm not the
right.
point of this system.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, I
such a
love
help.
that. That's really good. And
Man,
Psalm 8, it reminds me of that because we do, like, the psalmist there is looking at he's looking at the creation to understand himself better too. Like, we're talking about how it helps reveal God, but he's also saying, man, when I consider the work of your hands, what is man that you're mindful of him?
yeah,
So he understands himself, but not for some kind of self-help strategy or to have a better self-image. He understands himself in light of God.
right.
And so I think it straightens us out, like paying attention to these, like you said, to these timeless metaphors. We understand who God is better. We understand who we are in relation to that better. Like those, man, we miss those lessons are too easily left, kind of cast aside, right?
Yeah, I think getting in the outdoors is what helps me, like, recalibrate too.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Breathe.
There's so much noise. There's so much noise, in our busy lives. But when you get into the quiet of, creation, and, like, oh yeah, I need to recalibrate my hearing to what quiet actually is.
That's right.
My wife and we literally just got in today from a whirlwind trip. That's for another conversation, but we were actually in Orlando.
Yeah.
And before that, we were on a Disney cruise, and we were sitting there waiting on one of the many canceled flights to arrive. And my wife and I looked at each other, and she said, "I think we really need to go camping. We need to be in the outdoors." And I'm thinking, yeah, like it has been nothing but noise and crowds and technology. I need to be around something natural that will quiet my soul, because it is pretty noisy right now. So,
Are there things that you guys do aside from actually just putting yourself in that environment that help recalibrate your soul, like to connect with the Lord at a deeper level? Like, I don't know, maybe a prayer that you pray, or a passage you like to read, or just practices or liturgies that you guys do when you get outside, or does it just the environment just kind of does it in your soul all by itself?
man, that's a good question. I feel like, for me, whenever I'm in the woods, I try to go through the Bible. I try to go through scriptures really slowly, and so I might take a verse and just let that verse marinate for a long time. And when I'm in the outdoors, kind of seeing where God is helping me see that verse a little bit clearer, helps me to kind of settle myself a little bit.
Oh, that's good.
It may not be a long passage. It could be something, as simple as His mercies are new every morning. And then that helps. I kind of see that in a different light whenever I'm waking up in a tent, or I'm waking up, there's
good.
fog on the river, and
Right.
it just sees it. You see it differently.
I agree. That's good.
Yeah, I usually refer right back to you've already mentioned it earlier in Psalm 19 of,
Yeah.
like, the heavens declare the glory of the Lord, and the skies proclaim the work of His hands. Usually I'll recite that to myself, or even out loud. We've been duck hunting a bunch this year, and most of the time you're getting out before daylight, especially if you're down here hunting for wood ducks. You're out before daylight and trying to catch them for that 30 minutes that they're flying. And up in the upper delta, sitting in a boat blind, and it's pitch black. You can't see your, depending on the moon phase, you can't see your hand in front of your face.
Yeah.
Or it's super clear and it's a full moon and you can see without a flashlight.
Everything. Yeah.
And that's when I pause for a second and say, man, the heavens declare, because you're looking up at the heavens and the stars are super bright, and there's no light pollution because you're way up in the middle of the upper delta of of Alabama,
Yeah.
right off the Gulf Coast, and there's cypress trees and cypress knees and moss hanging all around you, and the
Yeah.
still waters and the echo of a barred owl uh, echoing across the water, first thing in the morning, and you just pause and you hear the silence, and then the sounds of the marsh come in,
Yeah.
and then that, to me, that recalibrates, it's like hitting tear on your scale, you set it back to zero.
Yeah.
Entirely recalibrated.
Yeah.
There's
Calibrating your soul. That's so cool. Thanks. Yeah. Good description.
there's also something that I've started to try to do more of, and it is just kind of, even if say Brad and I are fishing, just pause for a moment, rather than just continuing to cast and cast and cast. Just pause, standing in the river, and just listening. I think that helps me to be present in those times, where I could easily just rush right through it. So just that moment of just actually being quiet, and not doing anything, and just listening to the wind blow through the cottonwoods, or listening to the water babble. I mean, those moments I don't get in my office. I don't get that in my house. I think that those are times whenever if I pass them up, I regret having passed them up.
Yeah.
Well, the Lord didn't take David to the palace in Psalm 23.
Yeah.
Took him to the
He
side
took
of the
him
river,
outside.
right? Yeah, that's right.
Well, what about you, Kevin?
Thanks for answering.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know that you guys are the ones asking the questions, but I'm curious. Like, you all have given a lot of thought to that, and what you described, just it's so good, and yet I know that I can put myself in that environment, and I'm still not fully present. And sometimes it takes me a day to just hit that reset, or to recalibrate, or to just kind of shed whatever whatever of the world and my busy life I've been hanging on to. And there've been times where I've gone up just to do a day hike, and on the drive home I'll be like, Lord, I used to have a lot more awe for you than I did today. And I was in it all day long. Like I was in the prime place to and I can still miss it. And so I love there's scriptures that maybe come to mind, or liturgies. There's a great book called Every Moment Holy that I love. There's like a liturgy for starting a campfire, or a liturgy for one who sleeps under the stars. And I was just so thoughtful about how all those ordinary moments really cause us to look to the Lord and look upward. And then I talk to the Lord a lot when I'm bird watching, and sometimes I have to explain myself later when I thought I was by myself and I discover somebody else was on the other side of the shrub. But I'm just, there are some birds that just take your breath away, and you just say, "Thank you, Jesus." Like I want my best reaction when I see something good, to be a gratitude to the Lord for making it. Just like, wow, I can't believe, Lord, that you could have made. On day 5 of creation, you could have made a bird, a thing with feathers. You could have called it bird. And we all would think that was pretty neat. It flies. I mean, it would inspire us. But you made 11,000 different kinds of birds. And now you're just showing off. I mean, like, there are so many. I mean, if you gave me, wow. I mean, if you gave me a box of crayons and the shape of a bird, I couldn't come up with anything half as cool as half the stuff that the Lord has made. And I just want that to... I want that to take my breath away. And so there's after church one day last spring, I come out and I'm in the parking lot, and I thought I was the last one out. I really didn't think anybody was still in the church, and I heard a yellow warbler, and I got excited about that because I've never seen one on the church property, and they're a beautiful bird. And
Beautiful
so
bird.
I run to my car, I get the binoculars, I'm looking around for it, and the yellow warbler passes right in front of me and perches on a tree right next to a scarlet tanager, which was another bonus. I'm like, there's like this bright red and black and this bright yellow. And I put my hands in the air and just, I screamed some kind of like praise to the Lord, or like hallelujah, or Lord, that's awesome, or something like that. And I turned around and there was this family that was like still coming out of church, and their pastor like with binoculars in one hand, like just, yelling hallelujahs to a tree. I had to explain myself, but then they're like, I get it. That's beautiful. I've never seen anything like that. Like, just maybe we draw people into, hey, the God that made that is the one that we just worshiped in there, So,
That's
anyway.
cool. Yeah, and talking about awe and the sense of wonder that you kind of carry in some of your writings too. I mean, I feel like that kind of comes through as a part of who you are as a pastor, a person, a writer. What are some, even when dealing with kind of some heavy things, sorrow and limitation, or how do you cultivate that posture in your writing and as a human being of just keeping that sense of wonder at the forefront of your mind?
That's a great question. Maybe I just need to keep writing. Like we keep it before us, if you don't, if you're fishing and you don't go out and cast, you're not going to catch anything, right? So you gotta get out there. You gotta be where the fish are. So maybe for as long as birds incite wonder for me, I need to keep writing about birds because they're doing something good in my heart. Sometimes the Lord changes us, and maybe in 10 years I'll be writing about ferns. I mean, I have no, whatever. It'd be a pretty boring book, I think. But
I'd read that book in a heartbeat.
Yeah, considering ferns, right? But I do feel like there's no lack of material. I mean, like I said, there's 11,000 different species, and I got 65 other books of the Bible, and I don't think I'm going to run out of content anytime soon.
Yeah, you're talking to a couple of guys that read a book called The Hidden Life of Trees.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a good. I've heard of that one. I don't know it. I haven't read it, but I've heard of it.
I think we're in, man.
Yeah, so you know what that's about. So, but I don't know. I guess we just have to we have to be attentive, and I think birding. If you're looking for some aspect of God's creation to say, hey, I want to appreciate the Lord more by being more attentive to something that He's made. I think you could do a whole lot worse than birding because birds are everywhere. I mean, just my window's closed right now, but if I open it up, I know there's going to be bird. I'm going to see a bird. They're everywhere, and so if you live in New York City, maybe don't pick deer hunting because it might be harder to spot a deer on a daily basis. But if you're you could pick birds there. I mean, they're everywhere, right? So if we're attentive. We'll see. We'll even notice how much more the Lord has just surrounded us by it. So.
It's interesting that you said that this project came out of a COVID project.
It was, yeah.
So
many of us ended up doing weird things out of COVID, right?
Well, this podcast was a COVID project.
Was it?
Yeah. And but you know what's interesting is that so many people got into birding during COVID.
It's true
because we slowed down.
That's right.
There was a lot of things that we weren't able to do, and
you could do it from your backyard.
You could do it from your backyard. You didn't have to go anywhere. You couldn't go anywhere, and so it's funny what we see when we slow down, and
it's true.
And what a great way to have that sense of wonder through just observing everyday creatures that God has put on this earth.
I agree. I told my wife, by the way, I said, hey, I feel like I've never been trendy. Like I'm always 5 years behind whatever fashion trend is going on. Like I'm never, but like this bird book, I didn't mean to, but it just hit at a good time, because birds are trending right now. Like people are really attentive. There have been studies done that like 1 in 4 Americans has done some kind of bird watching related activity in the last year. And I mean, during COVID, they tracked sales on things like bird feeders and bird seed and binoculars and books about birds and things like that. And that wasn't why I wrote this book at all, but it's just like this is one of those really weird, rare moments in my life where I actually am doing something that that is peaking at the right, like I don't know what to do with myself. So that's cool. But
write another one.
There's a younger generation of birders now too. I think the stereotypical birder is probably a retiree with a cool kind of fly fishing vest kind of thing and some binoculars around their neck, and they just walk around, and you got a kind of this typical. I tell people, when you get old, you need a hobby, and I'm just getting started early. I just picked a good old person hobby, but
Kevin, you'll think this is hilarious. I saw something that said millennials are going through midlife crises, but we're all just too broke to do the typical sports car and all the other things. So we just skip straight to the old person hobbies and do birding.
Right.
Pair of binoculars.
Pair of
Yeah,
binoculars.
I saw something, and I think I got to tone this one down. But I saw a meme of some sort that said, you don't pay attention to birds your whole life, and then just one day you go, "Hey, is that an American redstart?"
Yeah.
Like it just kind of sneaks up on you, and you realize you're old. So you choose. It can be shuffleboard or puzzles or whatever. But I think birding's a good one, and I love that there's the people who are really hitting it in my county, who are going after the rarities and who are active on the chats and all that. Half of them are under the age of 30. They're just going after it. And
That's cool.
I love that they're attentive in a way that maybe we just assume older people who move slower are the ones that are paying attention. But I think that's I think that's an incorrect stereotype now for a typical birder.
I
Yeah,
agree.
for sure. I was fascinated by we had a guest, is a pro cyclist, a young man named Ben King was his name. I watched him race on the Tour de France. I mean, he's just an incredible road cyclist and an American road cyclist. But the thing that caught our eye was he had a separate Instagram from his cycling feed that was all about wildlife photography
Yeah.
and a lot of birds. In fact, he's really gifted photographer, and he had a set of his hummingbird pictures that have been turned into stamps, a series of stamps.
No kidding. Wow.
But he's really, really gifted. But I love the fact that, one, he was younger. Two, his job is racing
Uh-huh.
bicycles, like full gas. His job is going wide open for for
Yeah.
wildly extended periods of time over wild distances. And then his hobby was sitting still
Yeah.
to take
That's
to take
beautiful.
to
Yeah.
take pictures. And I think that is one of the things that is helpful, Brian, that you alluded to, was the pace of slowing down to look around, to notice
Yeah.
like God's creation. And there is so much to see. And I'm caught right in the middle. I'm like you, Brian. Like I like to. My dad loved photography, and he loved when he got immobile where he could move around. He'd love to photograph hummingbirds.
Mm-hmm.
And so I inherited like his camera and stuff. So it got me into photography some, and I love wildlife and I love being outside. But I like to hunt and fish too.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that's been fun. This past Friday, I got the opportunity to travel to Arkansas to duck hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I got to kill some species that I'd never seen before, and to really hold them in my hand and look at them and see them up close.
What'd you get?
We killed a pintail, a couple of pintail,
Right.
a gadwall, a bunch of teal, and then a mallard hen, which is, can be kind of boring compared to the greenhead, but man, when you get right up on her, man, they're exquisite birds.
A lot of color there. Yeah. People don't
Unbelievable. But
Yeah.
to see all of them was crazy. We could see through my binoculars, which we call lenses of hope, because we could see them far off, but they were never coming our way. But we saw speckled-bellied geese and snow geese and Canada geese and tons of mallards and
Yeah.
some shovelheads. We could see a lot from,
Yep.
and I've never seen so many birds in my life. I mean, it was just thousands upon thousands in these rice fields.
Mm-mm.
But
Those are
but
some
yeah,
birds, yeah.
incredible to slow down and like we said earlier, just recapture this sense of wonder, because when you really look at something closely and you see the unbelievable detail, even down to, as I was cleaning the ducks and I opened up their gizzard to see what was in their gizzard, and they have all those rocks that are in their gizzard that helps them
Yeah.
crush their food,
Yeah.
and one of them even had a steel pellet in there, Brian.
Some shot. Yeah.
From some shot from something. It didn't pin it. It wasn't our shot. It was from something else. That it worked its way into its system, and so it has all this gravel and this. Just incredible how they're created, and how they've been put together. And man, it just causes a sense of wonder. And man, if it doesn't, like, I think you need to
Check your pulse.
to check your pulse.
Yeah. And maybe the faster we go, the more we need to do this, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing that a lot of your listeners already know this, that it's just that those times of going slower, to be patient for a fish to rise, or patient for, a turkey to flush, or whatever it is. I mean, it's just, you spend a lot of time just thinking with your thoughts and going slow. I love that your Tour de France friend there is faster than most of us. And how much more maybe it feels like the exact opposite of what they do, but maybe that's necessary. You need that kind of whiplash to get you back to dead center. I've got the president of Joe Gibbs Racing
Yeah.
he goes to my church, and he wrote an endorsement for the book, and he said pretty much what you just said. He said, I make my living going really fast. He said, I appreciate that my pastor tells me to go slow and to pay attention to the things that
I
I
love that.
really miss. It's cool.
Love that.
Yeah, it's great.
I'd love to hear, like, we've talked about the book, we've talked about, your upbringing, but to hear perhaps a story of a particular birding experience, whether it's, funny or whether it was like, usually a lot of times, getting to a bird can be difficult, or this place to see a bird, you might fill your waders up with water.
Yeah.
It all depends on, your scenario, but funny things do happen in the outdoors, or you nearly die. That's happened before too.
Yeah.
But is there a particular birding memory that like sort of cemented into your mind? Maybe it found its way into the book indirectly or directly.
Yeah, I'll share a recent one. So it's not in the book. It's pretty fresh though. This summer I was on sabbatical. The church gave me the summer free, and I got to do some bucket list kinds of things. I took the family to Montana, and but I did a solo trip to England. I flew into Edinburgh, Scotland, and then I went to, and this exists. This is, yeah, you could Google this. This is amazing. There's a birding and faith retreat. This organization called Even Sparrows, and a guy named Mark Winter that runs that. And when I discovered that years ago, I thought one of these days I'm going to go to one of Mark's retreats. He is an accomplished birder. He knows Great Britain birding, and then he leads in prayers in the morning, and he's written a book where he kind of talks about the birds of the Bible, and so he does some talks, and he keeps it intentionally small, just a dozen people or so. And Mark and it was fun because he invited me I came to the retreat, and he said, "Hey, why don't you stay a few days afterwards, and you can come stay with me and my wife. We'll hang out." And so I told my wife, I said, "I really hope I like this guy, because I've just committed to like 4 extra days with him, and I've never met him before, but we've emailed."
But you're in.
10 minutes in, I texted my wife later. I said, "Oh, we're going to be good. Like, this guy is a kindred spirit." I just really enjoyed Mark. But one day, Mark had recommended. I had a place I was thinking about. I was going birding, but Mark, this is his territory. He goes, "We got to go to the Inner Farms. That's where you got to go, because that's if you want to see puffins." So we take this island out to St. Cuthbert's Island. And St. Cuthbert was a Celtic hermit, lived in the 8th century, I guess, somewhere 7th, 8th century. And if you really wanted some wisdom from Cuthbert, you had to like boat out a couple of miles
to earn it.
To him. He really was quite the hermit. And there's some remnants of his hut there. I guess there's a monument there, but now the island is it's wall-to-wall puffins. It's 10,000 breeding pairs of puffins.
Wow.
And it's a small little island. I mean, you can see across the whole thing. There's a boardwalk around it. You stay on the boardwalk. They let you off at the island, and you walk on the island for a couple hours, and this is where I did bring my camera, and oh my goodness, I mean, just wall to wall. And puffins are just like, you cannot help but just laugh watching them. They're just so fun. They're like I guess a northern version of penguins.
Yeah.
And even their call is like a laugh. It just sounds like it's this polite British laugh, but it's a laugh. It's just really funny. But to get there, when you get off at the landing, there's this colony of Arctic terns. And the terns are actually a chapter in my book. I had written about them, but I'd never seen one. And they are very aggressive, very territorial around the nest. And I don't know if you guys have ever had an animal kind of come at you before, but these terns they said you have to wear a hat or they're going to draw blood on your head, especially a guy like me with a little bit less hair up top. And these terns just went after us. And I told some of my friends later, I said, "You would have loved the puffins, but I don't think you would have made it past the terns." Yeah. So I've got a picture of one in particular, a tern that it landed on my head and just grabbed an ear and just started yanking. And I thought it was kind of funny. So I pull out my camera, my iPhone, because my camera's got like a 500 zoom on it. I can't get this. So I just pull out my camera and I go to take a picture of this bird on my head. And I don't think he liked that I was treating this so lightly. So he actually attacked my camera. He pooped on the camera. And then he flew over to my camera lens, and he's sitting on the end of my camera lens. So I wipe off my iPhone and I take another picture of that. I mean, this bird just kept coming at me, and that was one of the most enjoyable. Like, this was a bird. Honestly, this bird was kind of how the book got started, because I'd written a post about Arctic terns, and a friend of mine forwarded it to a friend of mine, who forwarded it to a friend of his, who is Johnny Erickson Tata, and Johnny read it and wrote me and said how much she enjoyed the blog and how much she enjoyed that post, and she talked about it a couple months later on one of her radio programs and about the Arctic tern, and then she offered to put me in touch with her agent, and that turned into the book. Really, Johnny Erickson Tata was the push to make this whole thing happen. I wouldn't have done it otherwise.
I was going to ask you. That was my next question. Was which one started the trajectory of the book?
It was really that one, but I'd never seen one, right? And so here I am a couple years later. The final draft is already turned in, and I'm on this island in the middle of the North Sea, and I got an Arctic tern sitting on my head, and it was just one of the best. It's one of my favorite pictures.
You got a real close up view.
It meant so much, you know.
Can you share that with us for when we post about this episode?
Yeah. Okay. Good. So I will gladly send you that photo. Yeah. It's, make sure you get a good close up on the bird, not so much on me, but that's great. That's great. But that was a really enjoyable moment, and just. I was there for a week and a half, but the best hour of the whole trip was just that hour on that island, with all these puffins around and terns dive bombing and other interesting kittiwakes and guillemots and other interesting birds along the way.
A lot of lifers in that trip.
There was this friend of mine there, my new friend Mark. He was determined to get me as many lifers as possible. Right? He knew I had.
This is your chance, huh?
Oh, it was amazing. We came away from there with 100 birds, I bet. So it was amazing.
Oh wow! Man.
Yeah.
What a trip!
Have you guys got bird stories as well? It sounds like both of you have spent enough time around to have a favorite.
I've never had one attack me like that. We've
had friends who've had birds attack them.
Yes, we have.
Owls.
Every time I post a picture of an owl, Courtney's like, "Why are you posting these pictures of an owl?"
Yeah. So Courtney's a runner, and her ponytail just flaps when she runs, and the owls will swoop down and
they'll grab. Yeah.
Go for that.
A friend of mine was on his porch. I had shown him the Merlin app, if you're familiar with that.
And we love that thing.
You can listen to birds. You can play. He was playing a screech owl sound on his porch, showing his wife, "Hey, watch this. This is really neat." And the screech owl comes out of nowhere and just smacks him in the face. I mean, just drew blood, like cut his eyebrow all up, and it heard another screech owl and just plowed right into him. So
that needs to come with a warning label.
Don't play this at night, right? It's a great story, though. I mean,
now I kind of want to try it.
I know, right?
I know what I'm doing tonight.
Yeah,
have fun, guys.
Set the turtle box up.
Let me know how it goes.
No, I mean, we have, golly, I feel like every time I'm in the woods, it's a birding story. Nothing of that caliber, but I mean, just an experience. I mean, I'm always looking for birds. I'm always looking for, when I'm fishing or eagles are one of my favorite birds to photograph. And so being able to see them, and if I can ever get those little kingfishers to sit still long enough to take a picture, those are fun to take.
Aren't they photogenic?
Oh,
the
man.
Colors on those, yeah.
But they're so fast, and they just don't stay very long anywhere. And so it's hard for me to get a picture of them, but those are
they
fun
look
when
top
it happens.
heavy. Their heads are so big, they just look like they should flip off the branch. They just turn upside down. They're amazing birds. When I was in Costa Rica, there's multiple species of kingfishers there. There's 4 or 5 different types. So we get the belted here, and it's that beautiful blue, and it's got that rusty V. The females have the rusty V. But down there, they've got some that are pretty much just the same thing, but bigger and green. And they're just vivid. I mean, they're just so beautiful bird.
The one that Peterson's writing about is not the belted, I don't think.
Yes, up in Montana.
I think it would be belted if it was Montana.
Is it the belted? Okay, I always pictured
in
it being
America, down around southern Texas, there's a couple of other. Some of those southern species might make a little incursion into the U.S., but pretty much the whole.
You're thinking about that vivid blue one?
Yeah, the blue and the orange one.
Yep, that's the one. Yeah.
I didn't know if I didn't know if that was the one he was talking about. If he was talking about the belted or not.
Yeah,
Mm,
no,
wow.
belted is pretty much that's an American bird right there. We we
Yeah.
get a lot of we get a lot of them around here.
I
I think
saw a
the one that sticks out to me this year is I've been sitting in this. There's a blind that we have on some of our property. That's one of those like you can see through it, but you can't see in it.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen these blinds. They're
it's
like
great.
they're really cool, and so I was sitting in it, and right next to one of the little windows, the little slits, is a branch, and a little chickadee landed right in that branch, and then looked over and saw me and like flew off, for a
Yeah,
second
yeah.
because he didn't see me sitting in the blind until he landed on that tree. I was like, oh, whoa, I gotta go.
My
Abort.
brother has been deer hunting in that at that pre-dawn kind of moment,
Yeah,
holding so still, and he's had an owl land right on his foot and sit there and not even know that he's sitting on somebody's foot. Just
Oh
sit there
wow.
and a good 20, 30 seconds of him just trying to, my brother just holding his breath and just savoring this moment of this owl
yeah.
sitting on his foot, little screech owl. It's so cool.
One
Yeah.
time I was looking at some birds down around Gulf State Park in South Alabama, and I was taking some pictures of some of these grackles or whatever it was in the trees, and I hear an owl, and about that time Brad pulls up in his Jeep, and I'm like getting Brad's attention. I'm like, "Did you hear that owl? Did you hear it?" And Brad's grinning from ear to ear because he'd been calling like an owl in his Jeep, and I could hear him. I could hear him calling. When I was looking for birds, he was out there calling in his car, and I was like, "There's an owl around here somewhere." He's got an
Got him.
amazing owl call, but
Got him.
I was dying laughing. I felt like a big dummy on
There's
that
a
one.
great story, and there's a podcast called Death by Birding. Are you guys familiar with this podcast?
I'm not.
No, death
It's
by
an
bird.
Australian guy. It's phenomenal. But he tells the story of this and this played out for about a year. There's a man in his backyard hears this rare owl, and he starts calling to it, and it's calling back. And for years he's keeping up with this rare owl that's he's
Neighbors.
hearing in the woods, and the neighbor turns out later has also been hearing an owl call, and he's been calling it, and the wives figured it out one day. They're talking and they say, yeah, my husband's been hearing this rare owl. No way, my husband has too. And it turns out they were just making this call to each other for like a year and a half. So
I
that's a
have
great story.
I have some neighbors that I mess with because I will hear them and I go, oh, that's a person, and then I'll let it rip, and then they'll call back.
Right, right.
I haven't had the heart to tell them that that's me yet.
Like
Keep doing it. See how long you can play it out. That's
there's a
great.
whole flock of owls in there. I don't know what you call a group of owls, but it's probably not a flock.
Oh man. Well, the cool thing is we did a few years ago. We did have a mating pair of barred owls in our right in our neighborhood
Nice.
that 2 years in a row had that had babies, and so we got to see like the baby owls and watch them grow up and watch them start to branch, and that was so much fun. So we do have a lot of a lot of big oak trees, and so there are a lot of barred owls in there. So, and that's one of the ways I actually refined my calls because I could hear them so much.
Yeah, yeah.
But now my neighbors, I hear them, and it's funny.
They're on to you. Yeah.
Well, Kevin, the book, Considering Sparrows, I hope that people go out and buy it. It's a lovely book. You're a great writer, and you've done a great job with bringing in these two worlds. What do you hope people get from this book? What do you hope that they do, that they pay more attention to? Maybe not in nature, but maybe just in life. What do you hope that they will
No.
take from this book?
Well, I've written it for, maybe you could call it the bird curious Christian and the faith curious birder, right? So I would love and I'm going to play my hand a little bit on this, but I trust your audience to understand what I mean by this. I want this to be a book that Christians would read and would be encouraged to just think more widely about the truths of Philippians in different ways because of the illustrations that I'm using, but that they would know Philippians better as a result of this, right? But I also hope that it would be, and I mean this in the best way, I hope it'll be a sneak attack on people who maybe wouldn't normally read a book about theology or a book about a Bible study. they would maybe get the book because somebody knew they liked birds and they bought it for them, or they just saw that it was a book about. I mean, the subtitle mentions the joy of following Jesus, so there's no question from the cover that this is a Christian book. But I do hope that some people that maybe wouldn't normally read a Bible study would be drawn in by the subject matter enough to want to stick with it. And I will say this. I want people to know Jesus better as a result of this, right? I just want people. Every chapter, I try to tie it to the completed work of Christ, so that there's a clarity from the beginning to the end that what the Christian message of the gospel is. And if you didn't get it in 16 chapters, I hit it hard in the epilogue. I want to make sure people get this is what it's about. And I hope that there would be people that maybe wouldn't normally think about it at that level, that would be, they wouldn't pick up, maybe they wouldn't pick up a book that's just the gospel, but they would pick up this book because maybe it's unique in that way, or it draws them. I will say this week I was in a studio recording the audio book for Audible.
I saw a picture of that.
Nice.
Fun experience. I mean, wow, this is, I'm so grateful that they let the author read the book. I know that doesn't always happen, so I was blessed. But
Much
I will say
better that way.
Oh, I always enjoy listening to a book when the author reads. He knows where the intonation is. He knows what he wants to say.
Unless it's Andy Serkis, but I mean that's a whole other thing.
I haven't heard that. But, yeah, have you ever heard David McCullough read a book? I mean, he's a great writer. He's one of my faves, but he usually they'll have him read the prologue, and then you're like, oh, I'm glad that the voice just changed.
Well, no, I was saying Andy Serkis. If I write a book, I want him to read it because
he could read it.
He has all of the Lord of the Ring trilogies and all this, and it's just I gosh.
I did tell him if Morgan Freeman's not available, I'm willing to read my own book. So, but I will say, when I was in the studio doing this, there's an audio engineer he's in a different city, and he's just a voice in my ear. But then the recording engineer, it's his studio, and he was not a believer. I got to talk to him about, hey, what's your faith background? He goes, I really, I don't have one, but he had to sit and listen to my book for 10 hours, and so he knew where I was coming from, and the conversation during the breaks was just so exciting to me. He's like, man, you talk about the joy of following Jesus. Like, I don't know what joy is. I don't think I have that. Like, tell me more about it.
Wow, that's awesome.
Share my testimony, got to share the gospel with this guy. We're going to get coffee next week, and I just thought that's an opportunity I wouldn't have had without this book. There's a guy I'm trying to reach, the Christian or the birder, and he's neither, right? But here's a guy that it surfaced some things in him about what authentic faith might look like. So that's my prayer.
That's great.
You guys can join me in that this book would have. I don't care how big a reach it has, but I hope it'll have a personal impact, and that there'll be stories like that.
Yeah.
So. Well, it's a joy to read, and it was really well done, and I think that you've accomplished a lot of the things that you set out to do with it. So thanks for sharing it with the world.
Yeah, well, grateful that I get to share it with you guys as well. So thank you. Thanks for the time.
Yeah. When's your next dedicated birding time?
You mean like when am I going out?
Yeah.
I'm always birding. I'm hyper aware. So
yeah, I know. You're like I'm going in the specific role of this time outside this. I'm going to go birding. Maybe you're going. What's your next trip to find you called them lifers earlier?
Yeah.
For the non-birder, right. What does that mean?
I don't know. Well, lifer. What I don't know is when I'm going to go out again. But a lifer is seeing a bird that you've never seen before. Zoos don't count. It's got to be in the wild, and that's a really good day. A day when you see a bird you've never seen before. And so, for instance, England was just like a bingo moment for me. There's so much there, but there's a little Townsend's warbler at this house about 15 minutes from me that everybody's lining up to see. That he's a West Coast bird. He does not belong here. He's got no business being here, and people line up for that. A couple of days ago, I was out looking for. It's not a lifer for me, but my favorite duck is a redhead. They're
beautiful.
It's like just when you thought a mallard was amazing, then God just like changes the color, And so I went out last week just before it started getting cold, just to go see if I could find where some people had seen some rare. They're kind of rare around here, and so
that's one of the primary big species down here in the Mississippi Sound for Mobile.
maybe I need to get down there more often. They're kind
Yeah,
of
man.
rare up here. So I'm always, there's a text thread, when rare stuff pops up. If I can find my way to slip out of work early, I'm doing it. So, but as far as a
Nice.
trip, I don't know. I'm not sure when that's happening next. My son is at school in Mississippi, and we've talked about doing some Delta birding sometime soon, and we'll see what
Yeah.
that looks like. But
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, I think still one of my favorite duck to see is a Drake wood duck. I mean,
Hmm.
it's
Without a
just
doubt.
tough to
Yeah.
beat. Tough to beat a good old Drake Woody.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, that looks like every color was painted by hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What cracks me up, I remember the first time I was cleaning one, and it's on the underbelly and on his backside behind his feet, and there's this like beautiful like gold and purple. I'm like, nobody ever sees this part because it's underwater, and they don't see it when he's flying because they're moving Mach 8 when they're flying.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm like, but I'm seeing it right now in this moment, and it's just like this hidden little spot. I'm like, wow. Like every part of this little bird has got some beautiful color in its feathers.
Yeah. That's that. I mean this with all due respect. That's God just showing off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, what
Kevin, thank you
a
so
lovely
much.
conversation.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks
Lovely
for the time, guys. I'm grateful.
to hear about this book and to hear your story and share your passion for, something that Bryan and I both love, and to get out and to see and see the heavens declare, see creation crying out that there is a creator, that someone has made this and that had purpose. And, maybe that purpose is to give us, to restore our wonder and to restore our awe. And so, man, we hope this conversation inspires people to go buy your book, inspires them to go maybe get them a pair of binoculars and get outside to slow down, to see even the most humble of birds, the sparrow, and see how intricate even those little birds are in their color and in their design, and to cause them to awe and to pause for a moment and see how good God is. And maybe they'll take time to write about it and share stories, and maybe it'll lead them to a story, because most of the really good stories I find do happen outside.
Yeah,
And so it will inspire people to get out in what we call the storied outdoors, to write their adventures down and to share stories in the place that we love to call the storied outdoors.